In the warped calculus of American capitalism, it's better for people to work multiple jobs, starve, live out of their car, or, best case scenario, cram 5 people into a 1-bedroom apartment than run the risk of maybe, possibly, having a corporation shed 4 million jobs they'd probably cut anyway to maximize profits. Republicans scare you with the worst possible outcome, then go back to cutting taxes on the sale of the $750,000 watch that reminds you to be horny. I don't need that reminder, thank you very much. Why do corporations get away with posting record profits while claiming they can't afford to pay people what they need to live with something resembling dignity? Why do corporations like McDonald's claim that $15 an hour would make them raise their prices when a place with similar prices is able to pay $15 an hour? To understand all of this, we have to go all the way back to the creation of the federal minimum wage in 1938. Ooh. The Great Depression pushed America the closest it ever got to true democratic socialism. Thanks to the concerted efforts of an energized workers' movement goading the Democratic Party into action, the FDR administration passed a series of government-funded programs designed to rescue the economy called the New Deal. The New Deal is one of those things your grandparents reminisce about, but don't actually understand, like milk deliveries, the stick shift, or swing music. The New Deal era created all kinds of great things we take for granted now, like Social Security and the federal minimum wage. The Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938 set a minimum wage of 25 cents. It also mandated that any work over 40 hours was considered overtime. It also got rid of child labor, which means if a 9-year-old is making your sneakers, it isn't in the good old US of A, pal. Or it's your child making sneakers for you specifically for some reason. The minimum wage crept up throughout the remainder of the 20th century, accounting for inflation and the rising cost of living in America. From 1961 to 1981, it increased almost every year. So what changed in 1981? Ronald Reagan, of course, the putrid saint of the conservative movement himself, successfully turned the idea of paying people a fair wage into a culture war wedge issue instead of a duty of the republic. The minimum wage stagnated at $3.35 an hour for his entire presidency. I mean, why raise the minimum wage when everyone has MTV? Cocaine is free, and there's a Datsun in every driveway. Besides, Ronald Reagan was a real leader, concerned about big issues of the day.
I said that we needed a rebirth of an American tradition of leadership of that kind, because the United States of America is unique in world history. It has a genius for leaders at many leaders on many levels.
Ah, yes! We have all the leaders, don't we, folks? You could say America leads the world in leaders, the most leaders per capita on the planet. What does this totally epic leader have planned for the nation this time?
And I know we all know that there is one simple measure that will save thousands of young lives that are in the drinking age, if we raise the drinking age, I should say, to 21.
Hold the phone, Chief! I'm pretty sure that after wiping the leaking brain matter from his nose, Mr. Small Government told my 16-year-old son Nestor and millions of children just like him that he can't get drunk if he so chooses? How else is Nestor going to unwind after a hard day's work rinsing the goo off of tables of Panera Bread? Shame on you, Mr. Reagan! The 80s were the true flowering of the Republican mandate to ignore the malfeasance of big business while simultaneously conjuring up panic about the downfall of society. This was the era of dare and just say no, distracting us from deregulation and vulture capitalism. While Ronald Reagan was raising the drinking age and not raising the minimum wage, he was also pushing a variety of tax reform bills that gutted the national government's revenue and in large part led to the 1990 recession. Conservatives might wag their finger at this idea and say that the reason for that recession was because George H.W. Bush raised the minimum wage by 45 cents in April of 1990. That would mean the entire economy cratered in 3 months because of 45 cents an hour. If that's true, which it isn't, but if it is, maybe that's a problem, huh? If that's true, which it isn't, maybe we have a truly f***ed up, precarious system in place, huh? Hey, thanks for watching that clip. Here's the evergreen end plate to ask you to like and subscribe. It's any day of the year where you are.